Hold on to your seats because this one is big. Rachel Reeves is making moves that could shake Britain's economy to its core. The Chancellor has just confirmed that spending cuts are coming, all in the name of hitting Labour's promise of raising defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. But here's the real kicker. Ordinary Brits could be footing the bill for this massive budget shift. The plan / public spending, tighten budgets and find savings wherever possible, including in the welfare system. And let's be clear, these aren't just minor adjustments. We're talking cuts of up to 11% across government departments. That means essential services could take a major hit, all while Labour rushes to prove its commitment to military strength. And why the urgency? Donald Trump. With Trump hinting that the US might pull back its support for Ukraine and pushing European nations to step up their own defence spending, the pressure is mounting. Trump has already sent shockwaves across the West with his controversial comments about Volodymyr Zelensky, calling him a dictator and even suggesting Kyiv started the war with Russia. These statements have left European leaders scrambling to show they can stand on their own, and Reeves is now at the heart of the UK's response. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is jetting off to Washington next week, aiming to demonstrate Britain's commitment to defence spending and secure its standing in NATO. But behind the scenes, the real question is, where is Labour getting the money for this? Let's talk numbers. The Resolution Foundation has warned that Labour might need an extra £12 billion in tax rises to hit its defence target by 2030. That means new taxes, budget slashes, and major sacrifices to make this promise a reality. And here's where it gets even messier. The Treasury is already considering raiding the welfare budget to make up the shortfall, despite initial resistance to Labour's rapid military spending increase. Reeves insists that her fiscal rules will remain intact. She claims these policies have brought stability back to Britain after what she calls years of conservative mismanagement. But ordinary Brits aren't convinced. Critics are warning that these difficult choices will come at a high cost to working families, with key public services at risk of being chipped away to fund Labour's war chest. It's all leading to one major question. Is this a smart move for national security or a reckless economic gamble? And just when you thought things couldn't get more chaotic, Rachel Reeves is now at the centre of an expenses scandal that could blow up Labour's credibility. That's right. A whistleblower has just exposed shocking claims that Reeves may have misused company funds during her time at Halifax Bank of Scotland. And it's not just small change we're talking about here. Thousands of pounds were reportedly spent on handbags, perfume, earrings, wine, and even luxury gifts for her colleagues. Conservative MPs are outraged and are now demanding an official HMRC investigation into whether Reeves properly paid taxes on these perks. Shadow Cabinet Office Minister Mike Wood has gone as far as citing the Income Tax Act 2003, arguing that these expenses should have been wholly, exclusively and necessarily in the performance of the duties of the employment, something that, let's be honest, doesn't really apply to designer handbags and fine wine. The scandal deepens with reports that a special company motivation card was used by Reeves and two other managers to fund their lifestyle under the guise of corporate entertainment. And here's the real kicker. This all happened while H-Boss was being bailed out by the taxpayer to the tune of £20.5 billion. The timeline is what's raising eyebrows across Westminster. Was Reeves living the high life on bank expenses at a time when ordinary Brits were struggling to stay afloat? That's the burning question. A whistleblower's 2009 report flagged excessive spending on dinners, events, taxis, and gifts, including Christmas and birthday presents. This led to an initial independent investigation, which found that the three managers involved appeared to have breached company rules. Mike Wood's letter to HMRC makes it very clear. He believes there's a strong public interest in investigating whether Reeves underpaid tax on the benefits she received, and given her current role as Chancellor of the Exchequer, this isn't just some minor political squabble. It's a serious credibility issue that could rock Labour's economic standing. Labour insiders are scrambling for damage control. A spokesperson for Reeves insists she had no knowledge of any wrongdoing and always followed the expenses rules. They claim she left the bank on good terms, but critics aren't buying it. A Labour backbencher put it bluntly, HBOS had to be bailed out by the taxpayer, and at the time there were people on very low incomes paying tax to support it. Now we find out that luxury gifts were being bought. It's time she comes clean. The reaction from the public has been explosive, with calls for full transparency and clarification from Reeves herself. If Labour wants to restore trust, this scandal will need to be tackled head-on, but so far, the Chancellor has been suspiciously silent. But the political drama doesn't stop there, because Nigel Farage has just made a huge move that could reshape British politics. Reeves. In a surprising twist, Farage has officially stepped back as the owner of Reform UK, a massive change that could pave the way for the party's future in government. Reform UK is now a non-profit with no shareholders, a move that critics say was long overdue. Farage remains the leader, but the party structure has fundamentally changed. Companies' house filings confirm that the original Reform UK party Ltd, which was owned by Farage and deputy leader Richard Tice, has now been transferred to a new entity called Reform 2025 Ltd. Under this new setup, there is no longer a single person with significant control, suggesting that the party is finally opening up its decision-making process. Reform chairman Zia Yusuf confirmed the shift, calling it an important step in professionalising the party and setting up for major announcements soon. But here's the big question. Is this move really about democratising Reform UK, or is it just a political sleight of hand? Former co-deputy leader Ben Habib is sceptical. While he admits the changes appear to be a step forward, he's warning that the party's draft constitution still gives Farage an almost unchallengeable grip on leadership. According to him, if reform is to play a major role in British politics, it must be fully democratised. And right now, that's still not guaranteed. So what's really going on here? Is Reform UK truly preparing for government, or is Farage just fortifying his hold on power? With Labour facing economic and ethical turmoil and Reform UK making bold moves, the political battlefield has never been more unpredictable. But what do you think? Are Labour's spending cuts justified, or will ordinary Brits pay the price? Should Rachel Reeves face a full HMRC investigation? And is Nigel Farage setting the stage for an even bigger political play? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay ahead of all the latest political bombshells. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Is Labour on the brink of collapse? Reeves' cuts spark fury. If you thought the political chaos was slowing down, think again. Rachel Reeves is now facing a firestorm over her drastic budget cuts, and Brits are not happy. The Chancellor's plan to slash spending across government departments has been branded reckless, with critics warning that it could cripple public services at a time when the UK is already struggling with economic uncertainty. The big question? Where exactly will the axe fall? Treasury insiders have hinted that the welfare system is at the top of the chopping block. That means potential reductions in benefits, cuts to public sector projects, and a squeeze on funding for critical services. Also, Labour can meet its ambitious 2.5% defence spending target. And let's be clear, this isn't a short-term fix. Labour is committing to long-term sacrifices, and the cost will land squarely on the shoulders of working-class Brits. And just when you thought this mess couldn't get any deeper, another twist emerges, because Labour's economic credibility is now being called into serious question. The latest borrowing figures might have given Reeves a temporary boost, with a record £15.4 billion surplus thanks to self-assessed tax returns. But here's the real issue. Overall borrowing is still one of the highest on record for this time of year. That means Labour's fiscal promises are built on shaky ground, and if Reeves thinks this surplus means she has breathing room, she might be in for a rude awakening when the next economic crisis hits. But let's step back. Why is Reeves so desperate to push this defence spending hike through right now? One word: Washington. Next week, Keir Starmer is flying to the US in a bid to convince Donald Trump that Britain is serious about defence. The visit is being framed as an effort to strengthen UK-US relations, but the reality is far more complicated. Trump's recent statements about Ukraine have sent shockwaves through NATO, with European leaders terrified that the US might withdraw support. By committing to a rapid increase in defence spending, Starmer is trying to secure Britain's place as a key NATO ally. But at what cost? Because here's the kicker. While Labour is slashing spending to fund this defence push, other nations are looking at alternative strategies. Germany, for example, is planning to increase defence spending through economic growth rather than sudden cuts. France is also taking a gradual approach, ensuring its public services remain stable. So why is Labour rushing into this? Is this about national security or political optics? One thing's for sure, this decision isn't going down well with the British public. Polls are starting to show declining confidence in Labour's economic strategy, and even some within the party are questioning whether this is the right move. And while Reeves tries to hold her ground, another explosive scandal is threatening to derail her completely: the expenses controversy that just won't go away. New documents have emerged suggesting that Reeves's use of bank funds while at HBOS might have been even more extensive than originally reported. Insiders claim that the expenses scandal wasn't just about handbags and wine. There were frequent luxury dinners, high-end events, and even questionable travel expenses that could amount to thousands of pounds. The timing of this revelation couldn't be worse for Labour, with Reeves demanding difficult choices from British families. How does she justify her own history of lavish spending? Tory MPs are ramping up calls for an HMRC investigation, and the pressure is mounting fast. Even some Labour MPs are getting nervous, with one backbencher telling reporters that this scandal raises serious concerns about Labour's messaging. How can Labour claim to to represent working people, while its own Chancellor is linked to past financial misconduct. And let's not forget the optics. This scandal isn't happening in a vacuum. It's unfolding at the same time that Labour is telling ordinary Brits to tighten their belts. That's a political disaster waiting to happen. But Labour's troubles don't stop there. Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, is gaining serious momentum, and the party is undergoing a transformation that could change the political landscape forever. Farage's decision to step back from ownership of Reform UK has sparked intense speculation. Is he planning a bigger move? Some believe that by turning the party into a non-profit organisation, Farage is setting the stage for an even more aggressive election campaign. Let's not forget, Reform UK has been raking in donations and growing its membership at an unprecedented rate. The move to professionalise the party signals one thing: they're getting serious. And the question that should be keeping Labour up at night: could Reform UK actually break through as a major political force? Right now, Labour is banking on the idea that voters are still turned off by the Tories. But if Reform UK continues to build credibility, Farage could emerge as the true challenger to the political establishment. Some insiders believe that Farage is playing the long game, positioning Reform UK to become a dominant force by the next general election. And with Labour's economic policies starting to crack under pressure, the timing couldn't be more perfect for Reform to capitalise on voter discontent. So here's where we stand. Labour is fighting fires on multiple fronts. On one hand, Reeves's economic policies are under intense scrutiny, cuts are coming, and the public is already furious at the idea of losing key services to fund military spending. On the other hand, her personal credibility is taking a beating as the expenses scandal refuses to go away. Meanwhile, Reform UK is quietly building strength, preparing for a massive political push that could shake up everything. The stakes have never been higher. Will Labour hold the line, or will this be the beginning of its downfall? We want to hear from you. Are Labour's budget cuts justified, or are they a disaster waiting to happen? Should Rachel Reeves face a full HMRC investigation over her past expenses? And is Nigel Farage about to pull off the biggest political comeback in UK history? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because you won't want to miss what happens next.